Alasdair. How are you?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you. How are you, my darling?
I'm good. I'm a little tired because I was out at hen do last night, which was very, very fun. But it was one of the all day things where you get there at midday and you're going all the way through to the end of the night. But it was a lot of fun. We did have a little bit of adult entertainment at one point, which
I heard.
We all thoroughly enjoyed. It was the first time I'd really been at a hen do like that before, where it's very much like the traditional, a classic hen. Went for bottomless brunch, and then we had a gentleman guest join the party at one point that was pre-booked in advance.
A kissogram?
A kissogram, yes. No, exactly. I think I finally found out what a kissogram does. So
wonderful.
That was good. I learned the mystery. What about you? How are you?
I am also quite tired because last night I was at a Eurovision party. I think Eurovision's wonderful. I think it's such a true, pure and joyful event. You don't really get anything more pure than an international singing competition.
I know.
As a concept in itself, there's nothing really more lovely than that.
Were you a big Eurovision girly before this year, before the UK one?
I'm not one of the kind of real hardcore Eurovision fans who knows the facts. Knows kind of 30 years of Eurovision history plus kind of has already got all their predictions lined up for weeks ahead who is going to be the front runner. But I do really like it. I did used to watch it when I was younger, and in lockdown there were a few kind of Eurovision rewatches that I did take part in at a point when I was very desperate for content. When there was nothing on TV in 2020, there was nothing.
Yeah.
And it was just rewatches because we were just there's nothing else to do. We need a sense of having friends. That's where that came about. And I really enjoyed that. It was a great night. There's obviously the stereotype that gays love Eurovision, but
so I'm told.
Me and my partner literally turned up at this birthday party come Eurovision party in someone's garden, and wonderful setup, lovely bonfire happening in a lovely fire pit. They had little disco balls, around the garden. Camp, but they had a TV and some speakers there as well. Everyone sat around the fire. Absolutely no one sat in front of the TV. And we pull up our garden chairs and we take front row seats. We get our layers on and we take up our front row seats and we're it's 8:15. It's already started. Where can we go? Where can we
We've got to get round, guys. Can we pay attention?
Where's the ice box? We need to get started. So it was great, but fantastic night. Eventually everyone caught on. They a lot of people kind of gravitated to the TV, but it was actually muted during the results.
Really?
So this is actually really boring. Let's put some music on. I was sorry.
And you were this is where we find out.
Well, we're going home. And we did. But not just because of that. It was also time to go home. But it was a good night.
A highlight from the night for me was seeing Catherine Tate announce the UK scores. And oh my goodness, was she apparently, allegedly drunk?
She was either very nervous or a little drunk. I'm
probably a mix of the two.
Towards wine. I think they had excellent hospitality at the event for all the staff. And I think she took full advantage.
Friend of the pod, Ethan, who regularly listens to Wholala, he was working Eurovision over the last couple of months, and I've been seeing a lot of stuff on his Twitter and Instagram about the behind the scenes of it. So I can only imagine they were very well catered for and looked after. And she seemed like she was enjoying herself. She seemed like she was having a lovely time, gal. It was just the way she kept slipping between English and French, and then she slipped in a little allons-y.
She was so funny. She was so good. A friend of the podcast, Ethan, must have had a great time. He met Hannah Waddingham. I think he had a hell of a night.
Honestly, I'm very jealous, Ethan, very jealous. But we both kind of had a panic because you were in the middle of your Eurovision party and I was in the middle of my hen do, and we both suddenly realised, oh shoot, trailer's probably dropping today for the Doctor Who 60th. And we were messaging each other and we were like, are you free tonight to post anything about it? And I was like, no, I'm at a hen do. Are you free to post anything? You're like, no, I'm at this birthday party Eurovision thing. So we both were just furiously texting each other throughout the night. What does it mean? Seeing all of the titles drop. I mean, that was something, Eurovision aside, that was something in of itself.
I think the estimation for how many people saw the trailer live last night, it was 8 million.
Oh
would
my
have seen
God.
that as it came out.
That's insane.
The Bad Wolf team, they know what they're doing with the marketing, what they did as well with announcing shooting as the Doctor when he was already on the red carpet for the BAFTAs, for example. So he'd already get the interviews because all the cameras were already there. So no need to set up a press event. Genius. Genius. I love it.
Genius. And the things like with the little codes that they were dropping on Twitter, and they were telling us the titles of the episodes, like the Star Beast and everything, and we had no idea. We didn't know.
We didn't know. And the way as well, like everyone, they knew that Doctor Who fans are feral and desperate for content enough that we would decode the binary and work out like weeks prior that this was going to be a Eurovision
even
trailer.
if it is our birthday party.
Even then. I think we worked out like within half an hour, right, of the trailer dropping that it was going to be a Eurovision trailer reveal.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, I think they really knew their target audience well. Like, Doctor Who fans are, on the whole, quintessentially British. Not to say it's not a global fan base, but there's a lot of British isms to it. So in the UK hosted Eurovision, to be dropping the trailer during that, I mean, like, it was just perfect. Like, I'd say perfect timing, but that makes it sound like it was an accident. It was a very well calculated promotional move.
They're just geniuses.
They're just geniuses. It does make me wonder, though, seeing in the trailer, did you notice it was the old time vortex from like the 2005 to 9? I'm like, is that a placement or is it I don't know.
I think it's a placeholder.
Okay.
I think it's purely done because they're bringing back kind of, the Doctor and companion from that era. I don't think that's what we're going to get in reality. It's a funny choice, though. I'm pretty sure that won't be the new Vortex. I'm like, 99% sure it won't be. In which case, I don't know why they didn't just go for kind of a generic kind of background with some stars. I don't know why they went for kind of the Time Vortex.
Well, this is my point. Like, if they were going to go for any kind of generic placeholder, it would make sense to maybe use Jodie's because that was the most recent one. And people go, oh, they've not put the new one there. And I do get what you mean about they're saying, oh, we'll put the one from the era of this Doctor and this companion because that kind of emulates that feeling, but it is leaning towards, I mean, hey, you know me, love nostalgia, I'm a nostalgia girly through and through. However, a lot of people online are saying that they don't want the 60th, like the celebration of the last 6 years of Doctor Who, to just become a celebration of Russell T Davies' work on the show, which there is like a fear of that happening. But I don't know, I just saw it and I was like, it's the titles I grew up with.
I mean, like I've said, I don't think it will be in that. I think two things. One, I'm pretty sure the second 60th, which they're staying very quiet about the second episode, and they've shown really, I think, nothing from that. There may be like one frame that's been revealed, but I'm pretty sure the bulk of that episode hasn't been shown in any of the teasers or trailers. And I think we might get some surprises, little twists yet to come. It was said ages ago, RTD said, you've only seen what was filmed outside. You haven't seen anything that was filmed in the studios. And the other thing I'd say is that I think the overarching theme of the 60th is going to be about kind of moving on and embracing change. And I don't think it's going to be too much of a kind of congratulatory, remember how good it was 15 years ago.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I think that'd be a really strange thing to do. I'm sure he's very cognizant of the fact that there's been 15 years of Doctor Who since his era. So I think it'll be done carefully.
And I think a lot of the footage they have shown in these trailers, they all feel very much of the same tone. Everyone's wearing the same outfits. It genuinely wouldn't surprise me if all the footage they'd shown is from the first episode, The Star Beast. And they kind of made it look like they were showing like a clip from each episode when they gave the title of them. And I know that the last episode's called The Giggle, which also weird choice for a finale title. And they had like a little giggle in the background. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if all the footage we've seen is only from the first special.
I totally agree.
Something will happen at the end of the first special. And like, Matt Smith could turn up at the end of the first special and we're going to be like, oh shoot, we really have no idea what's about to happen.
Very wishful thinking, but I'd love it if it did. I think there will be big surprises, and I don't think they've actually shown clips from each episode as they announced those titles. I'm pretty sure that was a misdirect.
No.
I think a lot of the footage comes from the first episode.
I agree, completely agree. But hey, happy to have the Doctor and companion back from one of the golden eras, one of the many golden eras of Doctor Who, which leads us quite nicely into the episode we're discussing today.
Yay!
So, Alasdair, do you want to tell everyone what we are watching today, what we're reviewing and recapping on Wholala?
So we had a request for this one from @MotoSammy on Twitter, and any excuse to kind of go back to Series 4 is an excuse we'll take. We don't want to linger here too much, but it does feel relevant given that we've had a lot of kind of David and Catherine on our TVs, and given that they're back later this year, it seems like a good time to look at their episodes anyway. But it always feels like a bit of a treat to go back to Series 4, and especially this one because it's such a joy. So this week, we are watching The Unicorn and the Wasp from May 2008.
Yes. Well, it's literally almost to the day. So the day this episode is being released of Wholala is the 18th of May. And this episode was released on the 17th of May 2008. So nearly to the day.
15 years to the day.
15 years and a day.
It's pretty wild, isn't it? 15 years have passed.
It's pretty wild.
And we're waiting for David Tennant and Catherine Tate as Donna Noble and the Doctor back on our TV.
I can't believe that we're talking about this episode that it doesn't feel 15 years old, but was 15 years ago. And you and I have just spent the first 10 minutes of the podcast talking about the next episode of Doctor Who to come out later this year, which is The Doctor and Donna.
Marty, what year is it?
What year is it, Marty? And Sammy on Twitter did promise us both a Harvey Wallbanger for doing this episode. So, Sammy, I will be waiting for my cocktail.
That's the only reason I'm in this.
Exactly. Alistair, do you want to give a little bit of context for this episode of Who?
Yeah. So The Unicorn and the Wasp is the 7th episode of Series 4. It came out on the 17th of May 2008. It is written by Gareth Roberts and it scored a 7.7 on IMDb. It was directed by Graham Harper, who's done loads of other episodes, such as The Rise of the Cybermen and the Age of Steel, The Army of Ghosts and Doomsday, Utopia, Last of the Time Lords, Partners in Crime, Turn Left, The Stolen Earth, Journey's End, and The Waters of Mars.
He loves doing a finale.
He does. So, Sam, do you want to tell us a bit about the story for anyone who might have forgotten this one?
Absolutely. Now, my advice, as always, is if you've not watched the episode recently, go back and give it a rewatch. It's well worth your time. But if not, I'll give you a little quick summary of the episode. So the Doctor and Donna gatecrash Lady Edison's party in 1926, only to discover that the guest of honour is none other than Agatha Christie, who, as history states, goes missing that very day. The festivities are short-lived when they learn that the infamous unicorn jewel thief is at large and a murder is discovered in the library. Their adventure starts to look like one of her murder mysteries.
As more people are killed and the Doctor survives a poisoning attempt, they realise these murders are playing out exactly like one of Agatha's books. They deduce that Reverend Golightly is not only the Vesper form, but the long-lost son of Lady Edison.
They realise his mind is linked to Agatha's and that he is killing people because that's what happens in her books. In an act of guilt, Agatha draws the Vesper form to the lake in which it drowns and dies. The link between them is broken and Agatha loses her memory, so the Doctor and Donna return her to a hotel in Harrogate, learning the truth to the mystery surrounding Agatha Christie.
Oof, nice job. The listeners won't hear this, but there was about 3 takes per sentence there because we struggled to get our mouths around the number of times I said, deduce that Reverend Golightly. It's a very hard sentence to say.
I was looking at the notes that we've made for the episode earlier, and both of us have just gone on about how much we love Donna in this episode.
Yeah, this pairing's fantastic. It's just a really fun, silly episode. It's very light, despite there actually being a few deaths in this one. It's really a fun episode and has a very happy ending.
Yeah, no, exactly. I remember before we did Wholala, my partner, as I've said before on the podcast, he's not a big Doctor Who fan. He didn't grow up in the UK, so it's just not media that he ever really intook. And obviously, Alistair and I do love the odd episode of Doctor Who, and we really wanted to get him to enjoy watching it. So me and Alistair were like, right, what's a really good episode, like a one episode that you don't need to know anything about Doctor Who and you can watch and enjoy? And we put on The Unicorn and the Wasp, and he was very sweet. He watched it and he enjoyed it as much as I think he would. But then early stage when I was doing a rewatch this episode, I was eating dinner with him and I was like, do you mind if I put on the episode? It's one of the ones you've seen before ages ago. Is that okay? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. Just put it on while we're eating. And I started playing and he went, oh, is this the Agatha Christie one? And I was like, you remember? So it obviously had some kind of stick into his mind.
Yeah, my boyfriend was also sat with me for this one and he had a lot of fun because it's funny, you and me, we know these episodes line for line for line, and for me now, they don't always get a laugh because I just know them by heart, so I love watching them because they're comfort episodes, but I know the jokes, and my boyfriend was really laughing, and I was like, this one is funny, isn't it? This is a really funny episode, but it's one of those that it's difficult now sometimes for us always to see it fresh because we're so familiar.
That's a really good point. And especially it's all that there's just so, this is just a camp episode and it was such a great recommendation to do for an episode of Wholala. You know, we both love a quote. We love a quotable moment. And this just has so many good bits, especially from Donna as well. I love when she is trying to use her amazing powers of detection.
Yeah.
When she's doing the Poirot impression. And later, there's too many good quotes to list, but when they were saying, when Agatha is interrogating the unicorn and she says, you said you went to the toilet. And Donna goes, oh, I know this one. If she was really posh, she'd say loo. It's just so good.
I realised that if you just look at the subtitles for this episode, it really has potential to land poorly. This episode could have been so cheesy and really not landed the way it does, but it's everything about the performance. It's the way everyone delivers this and the direction that makes this work.
I think everyone just goes 1010% into it. Like, they really lean into the like camp silliness of, you know, all those transatlantic accents that are all like, we're really going to do this, tip pip pips video, what, and I think because as an audience member you get Donna, who, because the Doctor's kind of a chameleon, he can, like, you know how he, when he arrives at the party and he's like, we were thrilled to receive your invitation, and then Donna tries to do it and she's like, spiffing, what, and he's like, no, don't. We get kind of like a throwback to when he was talking to Rose with the Scottish accent, like, no, don't try. I think we then, through Donna, get reminded, like, this is silly. Like, we know this is over the top. We know this is silly, and then it means we can like have a laugh with them instead of at them. Yes.
So give me a specific high. Tell me one of your favourite parts of this.
Okay, so one of my favourite highs, and I'm assuming this is the same for you, is the poisoning scene with the Doctor.
Yep. The poisoning scene is down.
Poisoning scene down. It's so good. So basically, while the Doctor is, he's deducing. We can say deducing and deducting so many times in this episode. He's figuring things out too quickly, and so someone tries to poison him in order to, you know, get him out of the picture. And he realizes that he's not human, because Agatha Christie's saying to him, like, oh, you know, it's cyanide, it's sparkling cyanide, it's fatal, you're gonna die. And he's like, no, I can expel it, I can detox. And he's like dying, and he can't really talk, and he's trying to explain to Donna what he needs. So he's like
charades.
Yeah, he's basically playing charades. And he's like, walnuts, and he pulls it, and she starts shaking. She's like, milk shake. No, what do you want, a Harvey Wallbanger? And he's like, how is Harvey Wallbanger one word? And then he's like, I need something that's salty. I need some salt. And so she gives him a bag, and he's like, what's this? And she goes, salt. And he's like, no, that's too salty. And then
it's too salty.
Like, her best friend's dying, and she's like, oh, that's too salty.
There's the other bit where he's trying to mime a shock, and he's got both his hands out, and she's like, oh, it's a song.
Meme. And she's like, Camptown Racing. And I just love that he's dying. Like you said, there are lots of deaths in this episode, but it's somehow Camptown Races. It just really manages to keep quite a light tone, because he's literally dying. And when she says something ridiculous, he like stops and he'll be like, Camptown Races.
Yeah. It's the way it like fills the time he could have taken to just give her the answer, to kind of challenge what she just said. Excellent humour.
So funny. What about you? What's something you loved in this episode?
For me, I've just written everything Donna does. So the other quote that stands out for me, because this episode is just extraordinary, is, tell me there's no noddy. Is there?
Tell me there's no noddy.
There's no noddy.
It's so good.
It's good as well, because it comes off the back of all the things that are absurd but have happened. It'd be like meeting Charles Dickens surrounded by ghosts. Well,
could happen, and will hurt. I mean, there'll probably be an episode of Doctor Who with Noddy if anything was going to happen under Russell T Davies. It wouldn't surprise me if it was that.
Her other moments I really liked. One was her little moment of allyship, not for Roger, but for Roger's. What relation did they have to each other? Roger's special friend. Who is he? Is he a waiter, a butler, a house servant? I don't know what his role is.
Butler. I think he's a butler.
He's a butler. And she's like, oh, it's awful. He can't even mourn him. Oh, 1924. Oh, you'd think it was the Dark Ages. And I was like, good for you, Don. No one else pauses for him. Donna does. I love the scene where she'd been flirting with him, and then she sort of catches him eyeing up the butler. And then she goes, typical, all the decent men are on the other bus. And then the Doctor's like, or a Time Lords. The other quote I really like is when they're kind of like finally whittling down at the end who the murderer is. And she's like nibbling away on, I don't know what she's eating, but she's got a full mouth, and she's like, she's not murderer.
The Doctor says like, and now we turn to you, Donna Noble. And she again, full mouth, goes, what? Who did I kill?
So good.
We're talking about like allies and allyship. There's such it's kind of a like mean jab, but it's so funny in context when the dad, so they say something like, the maid said the poor child, does that mean anything to you? And he goes, no children in this house for years, and I very much doubt there will be, like looking at his like very obviously closeted son, and the son's like, what do you mean? It's so camp.
I really like that. I really, really like that inclusion. It's funny because I don't really remember this. I don't remember there being like some like really gay characters in this episode from back then, but I don't remember it being at all shocking or interesting to me. But maybe it was.
Yeah, I feel like it's been stuck. Again, I'm finding it so hard to like sift through what's nostalgia, like what I actually remember happening and what I've just told myself happened because I've seen it so many times. It's always been apparent in my memory, but like I'm sure that very much went over my head when I was watching this for the first time.
Yeah, I think it must have done. I mean, mean, maybe I just thought it was a funny joke and I didn't really think too deep about it. Gotta say, they're very handsome. They cast some really handsome gays for this, which makes sense for a gay writer and a gay showrunner.
You'd like to think it's very much giving American Horror Story.
Yes.
Another one of my highs, and I feel like it's kind of linked to what we've said, but it's amazing performances. I think that Wholala, who played Agatha Christie, did such an incredible performance and the reason I think it works so well is because this episode it's camp and it's silly and it's spiffing top ho what blah, blah, blah. And she is actually very grounded in her performance. It's quite underplayed. She has the odd like spiffing moment, but Agatha Christie at this point in her life has just come off of finding out that her husband has had an affair and she's heartbroken, and they speak about the fact that she's putting on this brave face and she's going to parties and putting her work out there. But you can tell that she's really hurt, and not only in her personal life, but she doesn't genuinely believe that her books are worth much. Like, she doesn't think she's that good of an author. And there's a really, really sweet scene with her and Donna sat down in the garden where Donna is trying to connect with her and saying that she'd previously been in love with someone that turned out to be wrong for her. Again, there's the funny bit. She goes, well, mine was with a giant spider, but same difference. And you just really get an insight into where Agatha Christie's head would have been at that point. And I think when you're doing a historical episode of Doctor Who, especially with a real character, you do need moments like that to ground them, because we all know who Agatha Christie is. We love the books, we love the films, the TV shows that were made of it, but she was a real person with real flaws and real insecurities. And I think in an episode as camp and silly as this, you need that central character to be grounded somewhat in reality.
Yeah.
And I just think that she did such an incredible job with that.
I agree. It works well to have everyone around her be a total caricature of the time and an exaggerated Agatha Christie novel character. But yeah, you're right. It works really well that she's a very grounded and believable and kind of restrained character in herself. And I like as well that she kind of keeps the group together at times as well. There are points where kind of the Doctor's getting a bit overexcited and she's like, let's tone it down a bit here. Or, the other two are kind of enjoying the adventure a bit and she's like, oh, this is horrible, it's all my fault. And she kind of almost brings it back to kind of how people would react to these insane events.
She kind of keeps the Doctor in check, because you're exactly right. He is like enjoying the fun of the fact that, there's a murder, a mystery in Agatha Christie, and Donna's there for the ride. And he'll say something like, oh, that's brilliant. And she'll be like, how can you say this is brilliant? Someone's just been murdered. Yeah. Like, someone's dead and you're acting like this is fun. And I think that we've both spoken about this before. I think in other instances, the Doctor needs someone to like hold him back and restrain him. And I think that just even in a little scene like this, where she's just keeping in check and being like, stop looking like you're having so much fun, people are being killed. I think she does a really good job.
I agree. Another kind of nice high for me, I think, is just like how much it reminded me of the TV Agatha Christie shows that used to be on a lot that my grandparents would always put on. They were just like constantly on in my house whenever my grandparents came to like look after us in the summer or something. There was the Joan Hickson Agatha Christie's Miss Marple series, which was on, I think at some point in the 80s. And then there was the Poirot series with David Suchet, which I think was sort of through the 90s and 10s.
Yeah.
And it gave me very like cozy memories of that, I think, as well.
Yeah, no, I can second that. I feel the same. My granddad was a huge watcher of murder mysteries and detective shows, especially. And I think, I would go to their house on like a Thursday or something, or on a weekend. And it gives you very much that kind of vibe. And I think that it's a very nostalgic episode in that respect.
It is as well. And I think it was on a lot at that time as well. I think there was just constant reruns of that stuff that was always on like ITV2 or something at some point in the day. I don't know if it's ITV2. That's all kind of Love Island stuff now. I don't know if you'd see Miss Marple on that
just
so much.
Just how fast the night changes. They threw away the detective and Miss Marple, and now we get Love Island. I've just got a text.
They did. It all goes on Alibi now. That's like the dedicated channel for nothing but this now. So, have you got any lows for this episode?
I do have a couple little odd ones. Like nothing big. This is a very, very positive episode for me. I love this episode. One thing that I thought was like a bit low at times is it has quite dodgy visual effects at times. I don't know if you caught it. So just before the dinner scene where the son Roger gets killed, there's a wide shot of the exterior of the house, and it's very clearly been shot and then made to look like night, and then they add in some like visual effects, lightning strikes, as if to be like, woo, like, something is happening. And it a couple of times like that, it looks a bit odd. I actually think that I often say, and I've said it on the podcast, that people will complain about bad animation, and it's not that it's badly animated or modelled, it's composited into the scene poorly. And I think that the Vesper form on the whole looks really good. I think it's a very good model of the Wasp. I think it's scaled up well. I think that it interacts with the scenes generally quite well. I mean, another example would be once the Doctor's expelling the poison, that like big cloud of smoke comes out of his mouth, and there's probably a million ways you could have done that practically and it looked really cool, but instead it's just this big digital grey cloud that kind of like is like out of his mouth, and this is just me being like pernickety and fiddly, but there are a few times where I'm like, okay, it kind of ages the episode in a way.
They do. It has been 15 years, I suppose, but they do remind me of the kind of level of CGI we'd get in sort of the Sarah Jane Adventures, right? They look pretty consistent with that. It's it's not the greatest. Maybe they were saving up their budget for the finale or something, but I guess even there it's not kind of remarkable. But I don't know if this is true, but I wonder if it's kind of a lot of the in-house BBC stuff they did at the time. And I mean, it's a different world with VFX as well, right? It's been so long since then that so much has changed, and all of our standards for what's acceptable on television now are different. And I feel like even at that time, it was going through a huge evolution in terms of what we kind of allowed on TV. It didn't stand out for me that it was a problem. I think I was enjoying the story and the characters so much that I wasn't bothered by it at all. Maybe as a first-time viewer, you'd kind of point it out. The lightning flashes did make me laugh because those are done kind of, at least inside the house, there's kind of lightning flashes happening during dinner and then right after, during a very dramatic scene. And they're like indoor strobe lights. Like they're getting like, you know that meme of like iCarly coming into her flat and she gets like, like
oh yeah.
It's that, but constant. And they are just all getting like dazzled with like white light, and I'm like, what the hell kind of lightning is this? But apart from that, I'm happy with it.
No, exactly. It's a very. I was looking for a low when I'm trying to like compare things that have happened in this episode and how it come to it without like my rose tinted glasses of nostalgia. I want to try and like fight the cold hard facts. But no, that's me very niggly. I have so many more highs than lows for this. I mean, this is just me looking for lows. I mean, this is such a good episode overall. One thing that this episode's really good for that I guess wasn't intentional at the time, but it's interesting looking at it now, is another one of those episodes where there's an extremely famous British actor and actress on screen that wasn't quite big yet. So Felicity Jones is in this episode playing the unicorn, and she's great in this episode. She's so camp, she's so fun, especially like, well, I was going to say especially when we realise she's the unicorn, but not even then. There's a bit where Agatha Christie is like struggling with the mystery and she just sits next to her and she goes, "Shirley, you can crack it." But I just thought that was so fun. And then when you realise she's the unicorn, she's like, "All right, it's a fair cop." And she puts on like the thickest fake, like Dick Van Dyke Cockney accent you've ever heard. She's like, "Yeah, I took my chance in the dark and nabbed it. I'm the bleeding unicorn."
I was going to say, this is my next high, like, everything said in this scene is so funny, but like the whole like trope, I love that trope of like when they get caught out and they go from their refined English voice to, all right, the game's up. Just so funny. What was it? What'd she say? She said, "Oh yes, I'm the bleeding unicorn. Nice to meet you, I don't think." And then there's an even better line, which is, "All right, you knobs, arrest me."
It's so, I can't think of a word for other than camp. I hate like pushing the word camp onto things, because I don't know whether or not it's intention.
I don't know what else we can use. But I don't know what else to say.
It's honestly just so camp. It's such a good episode. The dialogue is so funny. The performances, like even like the dad, when the Doctor has the interrogation scene where he's trying to find out where everyone was at the time of the murder, and they all have like a flashback to where they were. Every single one of those flashbacks is amazing, but then the dad falls into a flashback within a flashback, and he's doing a real like army sergeant voice. I was just reminiscing about the good old days.
The good old days of the war. The Colonel was really funny. I loved that. What I really, really loved is every time they went back into a flashback, they had the kind of cheesy harp music playing, and then all their faces get distorted, but the distorted faces in themselves made me laugh. That one was a really, really funny flashback, though, where he goes to a flashback within a flashback where he's just getting horny. Was my favorite part. I didn't realize this is an early fun fact. Graham, the director, apparently this is kind of his signature when he directs. He likes to include distorted faces in his episodes deliberately, so that's a style he likes to do. So apparently he does it in like the Army of Ghosts with magnifying glasses and Utopia. There's a curved window in Journey's End. There's mirrors in Turn Left. He loves to like show like distorted character faces, and that's his thing.
That's really interesting.
In this one, there's I guess that and the transition is part of it, but the other one is Donna using her magnifying glass.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say Donna's magnifying glass.
Yeah, it's great. It's a fun little signature.
Yeah, no, it's a calling card. It's a really fun calling card.
It's a calling card.
One thing that it's not like a low for this episode. I understand that, you know, an episode can only be so long, but I don't know if you know about all the deleted scenes and stuff, and there was an alternate ending to this episode which featured an older Agatha.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did know this.
And it's so like that. If I had to give like one more low for the episode, that would be it, that they didn't include this. So for anyone who hasn't seen it, there's a deleted scene at the end. So once the Doctor and Donna have returned Agatha to the hotel and they leave her, obviously in the episode they sort of talk amongst themselves and they realise, you know, they're saying it's sad because she never knew how much her work was worth, and they don't know whether or not she believed that she was incredible as she is. And you know, we kind of just say she will know because her work like lived on forever. But there's a much more literal sort of answer to this, where they go and meet an adult, like, well, not adult, a much older Agatha in like a nursing home bed, and they then sort of reassure her that her work is going to live forever and it's going to leave a legacy that will always be remembered. And I just think that's such a sweet scene. It's really sad they didn't make the cut.
I have watched it before, and I think I remember thinking at the time, maybe this was okay not to leave in. Like, maybe this was fine.
Yeah. I mean,
controversial.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't rewatch it for this recording, so maybe I'll watch it after we record and I'll be like, oh, this did not need to be in it. But I guess it's that it doesn't need to be that literal. Like, they're going up to Agatha and they're saying, hello, you are really good and you're loved and all this. Whereas it is a very sweet scene, and we get that little funny moment of the Doctor digging through all the things that begin with C in the TARDIS, like Cybermen and Carrier Knight. And Donna, I guess it's more coming from Donna's perspective rather than Agatha's, where she's saying, oh, it's so sad, she never knew. And the Doctor reassures Donna, like, no, look, this is from the year 5 billion, like, her work will never go after. I also can't really see them printing paperbacks in the year 5 billion, but
the Doctor's obsession with the year 5 billion needs to be studied. It's never 4 billion, never 3 billion, only 5 billion.
No, nothing else ever happens outside of that. It's either present day
or 5 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
Nowhere in between.
Nowhere in between. It's one of the two.
There was actually another early fun fact linked to what you just said, which is that they actually originally wrote a different ending that they didn't stick with, thank goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Which is where they resolve the ending by having the Doctor ram the Vestiperform into the lake with a car that he and Donna have commandeered. But David Tennant is actually the one who objected to this because he felt that ending would show the Doctor as a murderer, which is true. Like, that was a good objection.
I mean, the Doctor has been known to kill before, but I think literally, like,
ramming his car into the Wasp.
That might be a bit much. And like, you kind of learn, you're meant to, by the end of it, feel it's quite a somber ending.
Yeah, it's meant to be like a bittersweet end for everyone.
Yeah, it's not a malicious murderer that is looking to kill people for the sake of it. It's someone who, you know, the vicar didn't ask for this. He was born and was given up, and he didn't realise he had this like genetic heritage. And it's a complete mistake that he has the mentality of a murderer, because it just so happened that someone, you know, Lady Edson, outside of his control, was reading an Agatha Christie book at the time. And so much as they do need to die, you're not meant to feel good about it. And, you know, because Donna is actually the one who instigates it. She throws the diamond, sorry, not the diamond, the what's it called? The necklace.
The heart, the spice alive. The joy of the river. The song of the gem. The fire diamond. The fire...
The firestone, isn't it?
The firestone.
There you go. You got it in the end. It's actually Donna in the end who gets rid of the Vestiperform. She takes the firestone and she throws it into the lake because she knows that, you know, you can kill a wasp by drowning it. And the Doctor has that moment where he says to her, he's like, that thing couldn't help itself. And she said, well, neither could I. Because she was just like, all of these people are being killed.
She does stand up for herself.
Yeah, she stands up for herself and she really holds her own. She says, like, I can't sit and watch anyone else die. And then there's again the bittersweet moment when the Vestiperform could take Agatha's form. It could move its consciousness into her, and it doesn't. It passes on and it knows that that's wrong, and it shows her mercy at the end.
Yeah, you know what's funny and stupid is when it's like, how do you kill a wasp? And in my head I was like, jam.
Wait, what?
Like, that's the first thing in my head was like, how do you kill a wasp? And I was like, jam. And then I thought it through and I was like, no, I guess I was thinking like, how do you catch a wasp?
Yeah.
I was thinking jam.
I guess. I'd be like folded up newspaper and just like whack it.
Whack it. That was the original ending if the Doctor had rammed the wasp with the car. How'd he kill a wasp? Whack it then!
It's just the giant spanner. It has to be bigger than the best before.
Smash it then! Smash it then!
Oh my god. Well, hey, there you go. So many ways they could
IMDb
have gone.
3 out of 10 right away.
This episode, I mean, as we've kind of touched on, it's got such a caliber of incredible cast. Like we were saying, Felicity Jones, Wholala Woolgar, I mean, Catherine Tate and David Tennant, obviously. But there is a fun little cameo in here that I think you also know about. One of the, I think, handmen or butlers, I'm not really sure what his title would be, was played by none other than Mr. David Tennant's father.
Yes, it was, which I think is so lovely.
I know. Sandy MacDonald, good old Sandy MacDonald, David Tennant's dad, played the butler, and I just think that's such a fun little cameo. I love when they get to hide those things into an episode and it's like a little Easter egg that fans can spot. I also remember, and I think this was very much like the peak era for like weird battles in time cards, that he gets his own battles in time card, and I just think that's so funny.
Oh my god, I love it. I love that he just got to act opposite his son as well. Like, I'm sure he was so proud of David Tennant, I'm sure. Because he appears, I think, what's the video that we've seen a million billion times? YouTube's constantly recommending it for me again. It's his like special Lifetime Achievement Award, and his dad is in that video, I think.
Yeah, no, he is, and he's sat there with Georgia Tennant next to him when he's watching it on screen, and it's so cute, and I love when Doctor Who gets to do it. You'll find it quite a few times where they'll hide someone's like a child or husband or wife or something into the scene, and I always think that's really fun.
Not hiding the children and wives.
Hiding the children. Well, I really hope, and you know, all the specials are obviously, they've been shot long ago, and
They shot them? The children and wives?
oh my god, you're such an idiot.
Just go on.
They shot. Oh my god, that's so stupid. No, I was just, it'd be really cute if they shot a little cameo for Ty Tennant in there somehow.
You want to shoot Ty Tennant?
Oh my god, I'm not letting this joke carry on anymore.
No,
Stop
I'm
trying
sorry.
to make shooting happen. It's not going to happen.
Why do you want Nepo babies in TV so badly?
Hey, listen, if I could be a Nepo baby, I would be too.
You know what? So would I. I'd take every opportunity I could take. Let me say one very final high about this episode that I really like. I just enjoy, I mean, it kind of ties in, I guess, with all the Agatha Christie references, which are littered throughout this, as they would be, and done very well. But the names in this as well, Reverend Golightly, Rabina Redmond is so funny. Just like Greaves and Davenport, Professor Peach, like I'm obsessed with all that.
Cluedo.
It's so Cluedo. It's so Cluedo. I love it.
That's so fun. Then Donna makes that funny comment. She's like, Professor Peach, the murder in the library. Like it literally is a game of Cluedo. I always think it's funny as well that in America Cluedo is called Clue, and but who decided that Americans were like so dumb that they couldn't work out what
They'll
Cluedo
get confused
meant
by the dough.
So yeah, they'll get confused with the dough. So you just got to call it Clue.
No, they can handle it. They can handle it. Trust them with it, guys. It's like in Series 5 of Doctor Who, they added previously on at the start of all of their episodes, only for the US, because they were like, they'll have forgotten what happened last time.
I'm like, honey, it's been a week. We remember. We remember.
It's been a week. It's okay.
It's been a week. I don't know how we're all meant to remember what happened in 2000. Wait, you and I will have been refreshing our memories with episodes like these, but I don't know how people are meant to remember exactly what happened 15 years ago when these specials come out. You know what we need to do, I think, and you, dear listener, please let us know, if there are more casual viewers of Doctor Who listening to this podcast, which I'd be very surprised of if you're this deep into a Doctor Who podcast and you're a casual viewer, whether it'd be useful to have some kind of here's what you missed on Glee style episodes of Wholala, where we go through things that you might want to know before going into the specials. Would that be something you'd want to listen to?
I think we could do a really lovely job of Here's What You Missed on Glee with Doctor Who, and bring everyone up to speed on all the eras they might have missed. Because I think even the hardcore fans, a lot of people tell us that they have an era that they missed, or a few that they skipped, or a few they don't remember that well. So I think we could do a very quick whistle-stop tour of some of the old eras and help people prep maybe for the new episodes.
I think that that's worth doing. We'll put it in the book. We'll put it in the books.
Sam, are you ready to play another game of Camp or Down?
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Now, very difficult for this episode because it's all camp all the time.
There's so much.
Every minute of every second of this episode. So I've had to pick out a few select quotes here. And I think I can say what the answers are going to be. First quote, all the decent men are on another bus.
Oh, all the decent men on the other bus. That is camp. That's high camp. It's the way that it's shot over the shoulder of the two F-slurs with the Doctor and Donna looking at them. And I just think that, campity camp.
The two F-slurs. When they're spending all their time together and he's like, where were you today? He's like, I was totally alone, completely alone, with flashbacks to him kind of being romantic by the tree. Okay, next quote is, Professor, the library, murder.
It's camp. In any other setting, I'd be like, someone shouting about someone being murdered. Not camp, not funny.
Professor!
But something about Professor, the library, murder. Especially shouting it to Agatha Christie.
It's great. It's not that. It's the running and waving of the arms up in the air as well. It's probably quite a legit reaction. It's very
flailing, isn't it?
Potentially the more camp part of this is not the shouting. It's actually the way that she gets hit on the head with something heavy enough to just crush her, and then she still takes a moment to slowly die and say, that poor boy,
that poor child. Yeah, and she's obviously been bashed to death by this huge stone structure, and yet she has the tiniest cut on her forehead. I'm like, honey, your head would be caved in.
She was just killed by it. Really hurting. No children in this house for years. Highly unlikely there will be.
Okay, so homophobia is never camp. However, it's kind of camp that he clocked his son.
You know what? I don't even know if they are I feel like this is a pretty tolerant family, because they're I know what you are. It's 1920 something, and they're all just eye roll. They all know what's going on. Even at the that's just cheating, when they all pop their heads out the doors, and they both pop their head out the same bedroom door. Everyone knows. It's
funny. I'll say there is something a bit camp about it. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this whole episode's camp.
Some homophobia is camp. Let me remind you about the monster can woman. Bottoms up, and the devil laughs. My next favourite moment that really had all of us laughing in the living room was when the vicar gets exposed and they kind of reveal kind of the truth, and he's starting to get angry, and he goes, this is poppycock.
Camp? No, it's so silly. It's his way of trying to hold the room and be
this
this is ridiculous, and the word he goes for is poppycock.
This is poppycock.
Oh, Shirley cracked it. Shirley just cracked it. Poppycock. No, I can't even say it. Poppycock. Honey, there were some poppycocks in that room, and they were all camp.
Oh. A lot of people die in this episode.
Yeah.
A lot of people die in this episode.
The Doctor really turned up and was like, yeah, people are gonna die, and that's terrible, but inevitable. That's literally the Doctor entering a room.
The Doctor entering any situation. Yeah, people are gonna die.
People are gonna die.
Which is terrible, but inevitable.
Maybe
I shouldn't be doing this right now.
Bad.
Yeah. 3 months sounds like a bunch of bullshit.
Maybe I shouldn't be doing this right now.
Maybe
that's the Doctor deciding to land somewhere. Oh my god, that's literally the Doctor at the end of Human Nature and Family of Blood, when Joan Redfern asks him, if you hadn't decided to come here on a whim, would anyone have died? And it's I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be doing this right now.
Oh, I think we're going to say it's the 3 months sounds like a bunch of bullshit.
Bullshit.
Them turning up in Human Nature.
No, that's Martha. That's Martha when the Doctor's we've got to go into hiding. 3 months sounds like a bunch of bullshit.
3 months sounds like a bunch of bullshit. Are you ready for some fun facts?
Yes, hit me with some fun facts.
A few fun facts, obviously all ripped fresh from the TARDIS wiki. Thank God for the TARDIS data core, because she's giving everything. So this one's pretty shocking. The role of Robina Redmond was actually originally offered to Georgia Moffat before she ended up playing the Doctor's daughter and then marrying David Tennant. And another casting that was offered, the role of Lady Edison, was actually offered to Helen Mirren.
Ooh, that would have been really interesting. I feel like it's a bit too small of a role for Helen Mirren. You want her to come in and be the Rani or someone. You need her to play a big baddie. I feel like. Yeah. But that's really interesting about Georgia Moffat. I wonder why she couldn't do it.
Well, I wonder if they just said, actually, there's something else that you'd be better for. I don't know how that discussion came about.
She's been involved in the whole thing. I know she was auditioning for Rose as well, so she'd been gunning for a role at that point.
Yeah, but yeah, Helen Mirren, it's definitely a bit too small for Helen. I mean, offered, I'm sure that was not a fee that she was interested in.
Yeah, I feel like there's a big difference between like offered and nearly cast.
Yes. Fun fact, Agatha Christie's grandson actually sat in on script readings and rehearsals.
Oh, that's lovely. That's really sweet. I wonder if they invited him as just like a nice nod to his grandmother, or to be like, if you hear anything inaccurate, let us know.
Let us know.
He'd be like, I don't remember there being a giant wasp, grandmama.
Yeah, his name is Matthew Pritchard. I have no idea what role he would have played in this, advising. Maybe they just felt it was right to have someone from her estate come in to kind of advise on an episode, or maybe that was part of the deal to be able to kind of portray her likeness. But I don't know.
Maybe. If nothing else, it's just really sweet that he was there.
It's nice, and I assume he was delighted. One potential fun fact for anyone who's especially keen-eyed, when they land, Donna says, oh, forget the planet Zog, party in the 1920s, and she's way more happy with that. So we think it's kind of just a throwaway about kind of the name, the planet Zog. But the planet Zog does actually show up at the end of the series. So in the end of time, they do actually go to the planet Zog. It's where the adipose are on the bar and Captain Jack is drinking. Apparently that all happens on Zog.
Oh, that's fun. I didn't realise that was the place.
I don't think that was the intention, but if you wanted to do a very accurate canonical reading of how they ended up here, because it's not really explained why they're here, unless they were trying to gate crash, but it doesn't seem they were, because the Doctor had to work out what year it is. The idea is they were aiming for Zog to, go and, I don't know, go to a bar, and they ended up going to a completely different party altogether. But who knows? Who knows?
That's really fun. I also, and I should have said this earlier in the episode, I love the outfit and the hairstyle Donna has when they arrive, and she's got that like pink top on. And I remember they did a back-to-back shot of the two of them, like a promo shoot right by the TARDIS here. And it was, I don't know what you saw, but it was plastered. I remember like, it was the photo they used, I think, when they announced that David Tennant was leaving. It was obviously the one they used for this episode. And she literally wears it on screen for like 45 seconds.
The pink
one. Yeah, the pink one. And I love that. I always remember thinking, I was like, underused outfit.
Yeah, they do that often, underused outfits in Doctor Who. They have some of their best kind of only ever appear kind of for minutes sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. That's really fun though. It wouldn't surprise me if Russell deliberately named that bar like on the planet Zog and had that little tie saying they were going to go to a bar in Zog, but instead of the planet Zog, it's a party in the 1920s, because you best believe Donna gets her cocktail within minutes of being there.
Oh, she's right. I mean, they're serving it at 4:30.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. What is a sidecar? I know it's a cocktail. I don't know what's in it.
Me neither, but I do like the way that everyone in this is a blatant alcoholic. Is quite nice too. Very true to the time.
Very true of the time. Very true of the time. Well, Alasdair, I think that is The Unicorn and the Wasp.
I think it is. I can't think of anything else to say other than it's a pretty perfect episode. Sandwiched right in there in a pretty perfect series. It's a lot of fun. It's a silly episode. It's a great light comfort watch.
Exactly. I think every series of Doctor Who, or every season, if you want to use that word, needs an episode like this where you could swap it out and put it anywhere in the season. It's just a one and done. It doesn't really cut the flow of the series. You could put this earlier, you could put this later. It really doesn't matter. It's just like a fun romp. And I think every series of Doctor Who needs to have at least one of these fun, silly episodes. And I think this was like you said, perfect episode in the middle of a perfect series.
It's great. What else can we say?
It's really good. Well, dear listener, please let us know. What did you think of The Unicorn and the Wasp? Is it one of your favourite episodes? Did you absolutely hate it entirely? Do you know who Agatha Christie is? Do you not? Let us know. We want to hear your thoughts on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok, all of which are at Wholala Pod. And as always, you can rewatch old episodes of our podcast on our YouTube channel, which is also at Wholala Pod.
And if you have a moment, please do leave us a review on whichever streaming service you are using, or indeed all of them. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your kind words, and your ratings help us find new Doctor Who fans, assuming you're giving us good ratings.
5 stars all round, baby.
1 star. That doesn't help.
It doesn't help. Oh, well, as always, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
See you soon. Have a great week.
Bye.